And hello, welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. It's 2025. Zach and Alex are back with you for another year of two gay guys talking about motorsports. Because where else are you going to get it? Not especially these days.
Yeah.
Especially these days. I don't know.
Y'all be safe out there.
We're running out of places to be gay. So unfortunately, but we're here.
We're not going to stop. We're here.
Yeah, we're not. I'm never going to stop. I'm too stubborn to. I'm never going to shut up.
That's very true. That's so true.
That's why we're so good at this. So we are here to talk about the actual season opener of the motorsports season, the Daytona 24 Hours, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. If you are a NASCAR listener, don't worry, because it was basically a NASCAR race, and we'll get into that later. So we're going to talk about some of the great highlights of the 24, some of my complaints, because of course I have to complain about stuff. I'm not going to actually complain that much, though. I promise. I actually really did enjoy the event. But
the Rolex was a fantastic race, and as you said, we are going to talk about that. We're also, a lot of positives.
Yeah.
A lot of positives. I love this race. Before we get into that, though, as we kind of alluded to in the start, things have kind of changed in the world recently, if you don't know.
I don't. You want to tell me why?
Social media. You may have heard of this app called TikTok. It got banned for like half a day. We're still there. If you're there.
For now.
For now. We'll keep posting little highlights from episodes over there at Gay Racing Pod. We're focusing on Blue Sky. I love Blue Sky.
That's nice.
Zach, you and I were posting throughout the entire Rolex while we were awake on Blue Sky. I did not post at all really on Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't either.
My timeline was active the entire time. If you're not on Blue Sky, please get over there. It is so fun. You're missing out.
And the only thing I feel like I'm missing literally are like the official accounts, like IMSA posting replays or like drivers tweeting things, right? That's the only thing that's missing. And it's just frustrating because I don't know what it's going to take for those drivers and teams to get over to Blue Sky. I don't, because some are, but they're not really active on it. So it's just.
It's interesting because a lot of them made the jump to Threads when that launched, and then that app's just kind of dead. Yeah, so I don't know.
So
but
weird.
If you just want classic Twitter to discuss some racing, get on Blue Sky. Highly recommend it. We're the same usernames over there at Newgate and at Dreamy Zack Racing, and the pod is there too at Gay Racing Pod.
Yeah, a good time over
one
there.
One other thing before we get started, we did a little bonus video. Zach visited me for New Year's. We did a little Q&A, answered some of your Qs, and we gave some As. That was so fun. That was a little soft launch into the season.
Yeah.
And
I announced my real life racing plans, of course. So
yeah,
the thumbnail. I was like, Alex, what if we clickbaited? It's just saying we're going real life racing.
And nobody believed.
It was good. Yeah,
it was fun.
It was a good video.
It was fun. That was a bonus video. It's only on YouTube, and if you subscribe to our Patreon, you get bonus videos first. We want to do more of those this year. We have ideas. So, yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
So, breaking news from IMSA this morning. Brand new class coming after some feedback from the Rolex 24, from specifically us. They are introducing the LGBT Pro class of racing, featuring the fastest queers on the planet.
Hell yeah.
So we wanted to try something new this year. All of our series that we talk about, NASCAR, IndyCar, they're going to have segment names. So for IMSA and sports car racing, it will be LGBT Pro, because we're professionals.
We're pros at being gay, if you didn't know.
I had a fun time making this logo the other night. So welcome to LGBT Pro. And I really do hope one of my New Year's resolutions, I think, is to be more involved with IMSA and sports car racing in general. Yeah, because sports car racing is in a golden era. And I don't think a lot of people, I think people are starting to realize that this year, like now. And for me, iRacing is kind of why I've gotten into sports car racing really heavily over the winter. And it just made me more pumped to watch the Rolex 24 this weekend. So I'm excited. We had a lot to talk about. I mean, it was 4 different races at once. So let's go ahead and talk about the highlight.
Well, guys, Penske Porsche Motorsport went back to back at the Rolex 24. Where have we heard that before?
I don't
Penske
know.
going back to back. Well, how about back to back Indianapolis 500 wins with the one and only Joseph Newgarden?
Oh my God, y'all could just replay the episode from last year, and you're gonna hear the same stuff that Alex is saying right now. Go ahead, keep going, Alex.
Oh, back to back, 3 in a row NASCAR championships. Team Penske. And now we have back-to-back Rolex 24s. Same car, too, the number 7. They swapped around the drivers. Philippe Nasr was the only one who stayed in the 7 and went back-to-back.
I believe Matt Campbell won. He did win last year, but they put him in the 6 this year.
Yep.
I think that was it. I think Jaminet to the 6 too. I don't remember.
They changed some things around, like Joseph didn't come back. There's a lot of different driver changes. I couldn't tell you all of them because there's hundreds of drivers in this race.
I think Joseph got his watch and was like, I'm done. I'm good. That was fine. That was fun.
Yeah. He's like, I sucked. Joseph sucked, quite honestly. But like he was just like, I got my watch.
He brought the car to them. He got through the night. He's like my man Kyle Larson. He got that car through the night. That's all. That's what matters. It's important.
Yeah. But yeah, Penske Porsche Motorsport goes back to back, and it wasn't easy. They had to race each other for the win, and I was concerned, not just as a fan, but for them as a team. Like, they're going to end up wrecking each other.
Oh my God.
You were talking about the 2021 Daytona 500.
I was getting vibes, man.
You said Tom Blomqvist was giving Michael McDowell vibes, and I said that was insulting to Tom Blomqvist. But that did not happen. Nasr in the 7 past Matt Campbell, as we were saying, in the 6 with 22 minutes to go on the backstretch heading toward the Le Mans chicane, which is now grassless. That's a whole other topic. I personally don't care. I think they'll end up painting it next year. I'm surprised they didn't this year. But do you have an opinion on the chicane?
I just realized my microphone was the wrong one. Don't I sound better now?
You do sound better.
Yeah, sorry. It was my head.
Welcome to the start of the season, you guys.
We're off to a great start. What were we talking about? Oh, that pass
under the chicane,
going to Le Mans chicane. That was insane.
Mm-hmm. That was crazy.
They were getting aggressive. And I just had a feeling because you get those gut feelings. I was just like, this is not going to end well. And Meyershank Racing, they were back in IMSA after a year off, and I believe they won 2023. Did they win 2022 as well? I feel like they did.
I believe that was Shank. Yeah.
So they were going for 3 in a row, kind of, right? Like I was just like, it's kind of lining up for that 60 car, So, but Penske, they kept it together, kept it clean. Felipe Nasr, as he did last year, phenomenal drive in that last stint. Can't ask for better in terms of just seeing performance from a race team, from a race car driver. And something I noticed as well, a lot of teams in the GTP category especially opted for a 3-driver lineup this year.
I noticed that. Yeah.
And most of them compared to last year. And I remember on TV, it's kind of like a risk reward thing because there are benefits to just having 3 because you get more practice time as a driver. So that's certainly a thing, but there's a risk because if something happens to one of your drivers, then you're kind of screwed. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Penske, they kind of controlled the race, and that's kind of why they won. Even when BMW was challenging and they got their pace back in the daylight, BMW won the pole. Penske controlled the race the entire time, and I think that's ultimately why they were able to hold off BMW and win that race. Because literally from once that sun went down, Penske controlled the race and they never really looked back, which is really impressive for a 24-hour race. All those full course yellows.
It's even more impressive, I think, when they were able to bounce back from that little misstep in the pits when they kind of got into each other, both the Penskes. There was, I don't know if it was miscommunication or just like bad timing coming in. Interesting situation there, but they managed to come back from that. And as you mentioned, they did kind of control the race. And before we talk about other things that happened in GTP, I want to talk about the drivers of this number 7 car that ended up winning the race.
Yeah, these are really interesting highlights, all 3 of them.
Yeah. So Nick Tandy became the first driver to win overall in the Grand Slam, I've seen some people call it, of 24-hour races. The Rolex 24, Spa, Nürburgring, and Le Mans. He's won all four overall, not just like in class, but now he's won all four overall.
And what I feel like that gets overlooked because when most people think about endurance racing, it's the prototypes and again, Le Mans, Daytona, IMSA, WEC, but Spa and Nürburgring, I believe, they are GT only events. There might be some lower like GT classes, so it still might be multi-class, but I just find that impressive because that's two different types of cars that Nick Tandy has been able to accomplish this feat in. Mm-hmm. And again, I feel like just from our bubble, Spa and Nürburgring, those 24-hour races aren't really talked about a lot. So
at least
it's
in America.
Really cool to see someone accomplish that. Like that's incredible.
First ever
in history. And again, in two different like types of race cars, GT cars and prototypes, which I don't think people realize how different those cars are. Like it's kind of insane to me. So that's awesome for Nick Tandy. That just makes me happy.
And listen, the Vanthor brothers, I did not know of them going into this weekend, admittedly.
I really didn't either. I've heard of their name before, but I didn't I wasn't familiar with their game.
Exactly. And Lawrence Vanthor, he won the Rolex 24 for the first time, right? But he's also won Nürburgring. He's also won Spa. And he's also won Le Mans in GTE Pro. So he's only one away from also being like Nick Tandy and winning all four overall. And as you said, we're going to talk about Dries Vanthor in a second. But Vanthor brothers, I'm going to give them Slay of the Week, both of them, because like great first impression for me as a casual sports car fan. Like, holy crap. Those two were just always, whenever they were in the car, were really fantastic. And then the last driver in the Penske 7 was Philippe Nasr, of course. His third Rolex 24 win. He's won the last two with Penske, and then he also won in GTD Pro in 2022. Great lineups over at Penske.
Yeah. I don't remember him winning in the GT car in 2022. I'm trying to look for what team that was. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm just curious. But Philippe Nasr, he's definitely kind of like what again, Penske also won the WEC championship last year. Like he's kind of is he like the current like endurance racing superstar? Like that's the vibe I'm getting. I mean, I don't really watch.
Kind of sounds like it. Like
he's won a lot of big races, so he must be.
I mean, y'all tell us. So we imagine we're gonna have some more well-informed sports car fans tuning in. So I mean,
and again, that's
let
why
us know what you guys think.
I feel bad because I feel like I should be more educated on IMSA and stuff, and I'm going to get into that later when we talk about the broadcast on like kind of my frustrations with it because I'm kind of here. I want to learn more, and we'll get into that later. But
I'd love to watch Le Mans. I think I would enjoy it.
Le Mans, it's a vibe. It's a different vibe. I definitely had it on last year. I had it on because I recognize its importance to racing. But anyways, what about our man Tom Blomqvist?
Yeah, he is. You compared it to Michael McDowell, as I said, but he was
really
got around the 6 late in the race. The 60 was really quiet. I think this is probably the quietest that I can recall.
Yeah,
Tom Blomqvist being in the Rolex 24 in the past, like
they were
5,
always
6
on
years.
the lead lap, but and they had some Scott Dixon was in that 60 car, right? He had some monster stints in the nighttime and stuff, but they were just kind of quiet. They weren't really they weren't controlling the race. That was kind of their problem.
For our NASCAR listeners, he's kind of like Kevin Harvick, just kind of like they were acting like Kevin Harvick, just like closing in the late stages of a race. It wasn't enough this time, but great return to IMSA. They took last year off after the penalties the year prior. They kind of absorbed a lot of what Chip Ganassi Racing was. Ganassi's taken a year off now.
Did they?
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Well, because Acura went from Wayne Taylor, and then Wayne Taylor went to Cadillac. Okay. I don't even know how that works. Never mind. I'm gay. Sorry.
We know. But yeah, great run for the 60. Cool to see them. I found it interesting. One note about this, that Elio Castroneves, they interviewed him on Peacock, and he said that the team owner, Elio, decided not to put himself in the car, which I found interesting.
I was wondering why he wasn't in the race.
Yeah.
Because Elio's got ownership stake in Meyer-Shank.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was interesting that he didn't really specify why owner Elio didn't put him in the car, but it was different without him out there for sure.
I noticed that because there were a lot of superstars in the race, of course, but I just felt like there were slightly less than normal. Like there weren't really any NASCAR people besides Cindric and like Kligerman and stuff, if that even counts. Like,
yeah.
And then like not having Castroneves, like I feel like the IndyCar presence was like they were
Very
there, but
diminished.
also the broadcast wasn't really talking about them.
And we'll get into NBC. Yeah, that might be on purpose.
That was why. Because I forgot Colton Herta was in the race.
Yeah, and he crashed, by the way.
I was asleep.
He crashed like early in the morning. We talked about his brother Lawrence Dries Vanthoor. As I said, already got Slay of the Week. He looked very fast. I thought in the last 2 hours when there was a yellow, I thought he was going to run away with this. Whenever he was in the BMW for RLL, I thought he was just going to pull away and run away with it. He did briefly take the lead with 1 hour and 46 minutes to go, but he took turn 1 way too wide. And then when he was coming back he didn't go off the track, but when he was coming back to the racing line, he had to have a crazy save. He was side by side with one of the Penskes. I don't know how he didn't take them both out. That was really impressive.
I know the year just started, but save of the year.
That's a contender already. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
I don't know how you save a prototype like that.
After that, he doesn't fully recover. Dries Vanthoor does not really have the same speed after that. And I was wondering if it was like tires, like did he kill his tires after that kind of save?
Probably lit him up.
Or did he have to like regain confidence? I wasn't sure what happened there.
Could be all those little things. I mean, just from playing iRacing, when you have a moment like that, it's so hard to get back in your rhythm. It's so hard. And that honestly was such a defining moment of this race, because if the BMW could take control of that race, I don't know, we could be talking about a different winner. Like seriously.
Yeah. I mean, you say Penske had control of this race. I really think the BMWs
they had the speed to compete
really, really fast.
They just threw it away. I mean, they literally threw it away. That was driver error. Which again is why, I mean, after racing for 22, 23 hours, I mean, that's going to happen. And that's what's so cool about this race. But literally he had that pass done and made, and then he threw it away as soon as he had it. I find that really interesting. And that was, again, save of the year. That easily could have taken both the top two out. I mean, we saw a similar incident that caused the big pile up in the nighttime. So, yeah.
Vanthoor ended up having some damage on his left front. It took him out for the podium, but solid day for him. This is my first impression of him, so I'm very impressed.
The Vanthoor brothers.
Now, staying on the topic of Dries Vanthoor, we're going to open up a new little segment, if you want to call it that, the Patreon mailbag. Our Patreon members have the opportunity this year, every week, to send in their hot takes, opinions, thoughts on news, whatever, and we'll talk about it. If you are a Patreon subscriber, you can do that now for the NASCAR Clash that's coming up. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think's going to happen? Etc. But first, Avery Hage said he expects BMW to take another step up in performance in 2025, especially the 24, because of Dries Vanthoor. Avery, Mr. IMSA, said this before the Rolex 24 happened. I think it was 3 days before or something. And I'd say Avery's right. I pretty good sign here that Vanthoor is really going to bring the 24 BMW up.
Yeah. Didn't BMW win? Did they win at the end of the season?
I think it was Petit Le Mans, right?
That's what I feel like that's what happened, because it sounds because I remember them having a lot of speed.
Yeah, late last season.
I don't remember.
But
it's hard to look it up.
Kudos to Avery for having the right thought there. And then we have another comment from our Patreon mailbags from Dirt Reynolds.
No,
he wants to know
Petit Le Mans.
Oh, well, I lied. BMW won somewhere.
I feel like. Oh, didn't they win Indy?
Oh, it was Indy.
I think it was Indy, wasn't it?
I knew it was a big race. Yeah. That sounds
Was
right.
it? Because
Might
it
have
was
been Indy.
RL. I feel like we mentioned RL,
If
RLL,
it's not Indy, we're just lying. So sorry.
BMW.
Avery Hage will let us know in the comments, and others. But Dirt Reynolds wants to know how we feel about Wayne Taylor Racing separating from Andretti.
Yeah, they had a 1-2 sweep at Indy, so it was Indy.
Okay.
I knew it was
We were
I knew
right.
it was a big race. It was the Indy last year. So,
Zach, thoughts on Wayne Taylor Racing separating from Andretti?
girl, number one, forgot they were even in the race. I mean, their cars were beautiful. I love the chrome, but
It's pretty.
I heard they're having issues. Like I saw somewhere on Reddit, so it must be true that they were having trouble with merging into Cadillac, and like they had a lot of old Ganassi stuff that it was taking them a long time to, what was the word, like acclimate to, or just like figure out. Like they were having a lot of trouble adapting to the Cadillac apparently. So because again, we didn't really see them much besides like Kamui Kobayashi. Like, girl, I didn't hear Ricky Taylor's name brought up once, and
Which
I
is
love that man.
crazy.
Honestly, either of the Taylor brothers, like I didn't hear their name brought up once
in an IMSA race, and the Taylor brothers were just kind of like absent. It felt like.
Yeah, the only time I heard about the Wayne Taylor cars is when the blue one wrecked. It was the blue one, right? I think the blue one wrecked. Maybe it was the 40. One of them wrecked that caused that big wreck, and then also Kamui Kobayashi having that monster stint.
Yeah, the wreck you're talking about was the 40.
Yeah,
that was it was Louis Delatraz was in the car.
Yeah.
He like got loose in the middle of 1 and 2 and then couldn't save it.
Those S's are treacherous.
It was actually similar. I think you mentioned this earlier. Similar to what happened.
It was kind of similar.
Vantor saved it. Yeah.
In iRacing, I've had Code Brown moments if you hit those curbs wrong. Like if you try to take too much curb.
Oh. But you did mention Kamui Kobayashi. I love that guy. I'm a big fan. Whenever he's out there, he's just killing it.
He's back.
40, as we said, the 40 was like gone, like probably last, right? Like maybe close to last. Kobayashi gets in there and the 40 car's leading for a minute. And there was a moment, I think it was probably on a restart. He like flew by on the outside, a whole bunch of cars. Oh, so fun. I love Kamui Kobayashi. I hope he's doing more races this year.
Where did they finish?
And
they finished.
Taking a look at the results. Where were they?
Last. I think they must have been last because they're not in the top 10.
Well, yeah, they were in that crash.
Well, not last. Yeah. Lamborghini was last.
That's true. With Grosjean and Daniel Kvyat. Yeah.
Ran an hour and they're like, sorry, we're out. We're done.
Since you pulled up the results here, the other Wayne Taylor car finished in 5th. I would not have been able to tell you that.
Well, they were like 1 lap down. So they were actually really like on the verge of getting their lap back. Because what's funny is I believe IMSA has the wave around thing, but it works like NASCAR to where the leaders have to pit. And I believe they kept the 6 car, the 6 Penske car, they kept them out during one of the last cautions and kept the 10 from taking the wave around, which I found really interesting.
Makes sense.
Yeah, who was in that car? Well, Ricky Taylor. Forgot who was in that car, to be honest with you. Again,
I mean they weren't very strong, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
I don't know all the lineups for IMSA. I apologize.
It's a lot of drivers, and I feel like they changed a lot this year, though. To be fair,
a lot.
I mean, Penske is literally changing their drivers from car to car. Like it's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard.
Yeah. While you have the results pulled up, Zach, do you want to pull up a GTD Pro?
Oh, of course I want to pull up GTD Pro because the Ford Mustang GT3 just won its very first race on a global scale. And not only did they do that, it was the 24 Hours of Daytona, and they had both cars in the podium.
That's
so
awesome.
Yes, I would like to look at these. I want to print this out, actually. Ford Mustang. Listen, I don't know how to explain this. I grew up in the back seat of my mom's Mustang. It was a very iconic part of my life. It was a very important part of my life. So after my father passed away a few years ago, I have a lot of attachment to this brand because both my parents diehard Ford fans, like just Ford. My dad was a big Robert Yates fan, all that. I've talked about that before. So just my attachment to this brand, me getting back into sports car racing, And going into this, event, I'm like, man, it would be cool if Mustang won. They probably won't, but it'd be cool. But like for them to actually win, it's kind of unreal to me. And it's
Very
really
cool.
impressive being the second year of this program. Um, people could say, well, balance the performance, but you still need to have a great team, great drivers, great execution. So, and I mean, listen, the car was fast. I don't know what else to say.
Great debut for that kind of great first win, I should say, for them. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, they started getting some speed at the end of last year. And again, it's just like, I don't know if it's that crazy of a concept, but taking a muscle car and turning it into a GT3 car, like, the basic design of a muscle car, like that's just so cool to me. And that's what sports car racing is all about, right? Saying a Mustang, a Corvette, a BMW, a McLaren, like all racing together. Like it's just so that's what sports car racing is all about. And that's something I've come to learn and really appreciate.
So. Yeah. And something that the broadcast talked a lot about was Ford and McLaren are supposedly talking with IMSA about joining GTP. And Ford would look amazing in GTP.
I wonder what it would look like. Like, would it have? Because you know how the Cadillac looks like a Cadillac, like with the headlights and stuff. I'm like, girl, make that look like a Mustang prototype. Like, girl, do it. Either that or like the Ford GT, like the Ford GT style. Like, I don't know what you would call it. The Ford GTP. The Ford GTP.
There you go.
Oh my god, that'd be sexy.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm excited. I love Ford. Oh my god, I was wearing a Mustang shirt over the weekend. Because I got one for Christmas, like the Mustang GT3 shirt. Love that car. The livery's awesome, and good for Austin Cindric, NASCAR driver Austin Cindric, to get a podium.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He did a pretty good job keeping track position from what I saw. So.
And now there's two big topics to talk about with GTD Pro. The big one is that if you were on social media, you probably saw a middle finger picture going around. That was Tommy Milner. He was flipping off Augusto Farfus. And he said, quote, "That's not what IMSA is about."
That's a hell of a name.
So Farfus pretty much just brake checked Milner, and Milner was being chased down by the other BMW for the race lead at the time. Farfus was several laps down. And this was not a pretty situation. Farfus only got a drive-through penalty, and the TV booth was saying that they should park him. They should park that car. Like, it was pretty bad. And I mean, this morning, it is Monday, the day after the Rolex 24, Tommy Milner posted on social media saying that he has raced Farfus for over 15 years, and he believes it was a team order from BMW and not a decision on Farfus' part. Thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and so I just looked up the blue flag rule in IMSA. They're not mandatory. So it's like NASCAR, where they're not mandatory. So, and we've seen this in NASCAR before, I feel like, where
Martinsville last year.
Well, yes, but I mean, like, more like, it's a battle for the lead, and one of the guys, his teammates, is about to get lapped, right? So,
yeah.
Listen, I am completely fine with the 48 BMW making it really hard for the Corvette. But what you can't do, like, what blocking into turn one, that was too much, right? Whether it's respectful or not, if it's within the rules, that's fine. But the blocking thing, that's not in the rules. You cannot block in sports car racing. That's dangerous. It's unsportsmanlike, not safe. Covering the inside into the horseshoe, I think that situation is fine, but he was already doing too much before then for that to be validated. Like, he already had the penalty applied to him, like, or rather, he already had the penalty called to him, so he was going to come in anyways, and he was still in the way. It's just definitely, in the terms of the spirit of racing, it definitely was kind of scummy. But as a NASCAR fan, I'm not as harsh to what BMW was doing, even though it was kind of scummy, and I was glad to see them get karma. But that's just my opinion. I don't know if anyone would agree.
I mean, it worked out for Ford, because ultimately I think it did benefit Ford in the end.
Yeah, it gave them. I mean, he just handed the race over to them, honestly. So
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to follow. Like if there's any like payback later in the season, or if IMSA says there's a new rule or
oh yeah,
something.
Alex,
It'll
this
be
isn't
interesting.
NASCAR. Payback
It's
in the what
owned.
are they going to do?
IMSA is owned by NASCAR. I would not rule that
As
out.
I could see with these 20-minute yellow flags. Good lord. Oh, and Dale
Another
Jarrett
thing.
broadcast.
Again, we're saving NBC because we got a lot to
I know. I
say.
need to stop.
Another thing with GTD Pro, Trackhouse entered. They were partnered with TF Sport. They finished 9th in class. They just did not really have the speed, but this was a very fun entry. It
Well,
had SVG, Scott McLaughlin, Connor Zilish, and Ben Keating. Connor Zilish, 18 years old, ran 8.5 hours in this race. Crazy. He was the fastest of them as well.
and they got up to 5th at one point.
They did.
And then Zilla spun by himself.
Yeah.
Or he he turned down on a prototype, I feel like. It was an LMP2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunate. Zillish kind of threw away because they were coming back to have a good run. I think that was happening during the same time as the BMW and Corvette.
Yeah, it was near the same time.
Yeah, the kerfuffle. Calvin Fish said kerfuffle a lot on the broadcast, I noticed.
The argy bargy kerfuffle.
The argy bargy and all the kerfuffles. But yeah, because Ben Keating, who was doing double duty, I believe was that an LMP2? I don't remember what team it was.
I'm not sure. I know he was doing another car though.
He only did like 2 hours, so he must have only did like his 2. I wonder if he did his 2 stints back to back and then got out of there, and then let all the other guys take care of. SVG had some nice stints in the nighttime. He was doing pretty cool.
Yeah,
I noticed. So
if you follow those guys on social media, they were having a lot of fun together.
They were having a lot of fun.
It was cute to follow.
I didn't realize the connection between Scott McLaughlin and SVG. Like, no, duh. They both come from supercars. I didn't.
Yeah,
that connection for me did not click until I saw the feature on the broadcast.
Yeah, it is funny that they are in 2 different series now, but they were like rivals.
Yeah,
for a very long time in Australia. It is interesting.
I thought it was cute that we've always wanted to race together. I'm like, girl, just get married. Just get married. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was cute. Some other notes before we talk about NBC and the cautions. LMP2 Tower Motorsports number 8 car won. That lineup included IndyCar champion Sebastian Bourdais. Do you want to flip over to the LMP2 results,
yes.
Zach?
I was zoned out.
Something that I want to note about this is when Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden ran for them, they ran terribly, and they did not even make the first lap. So I'm a little offended by this. I'm joking, but cool, good for them. John Ferrano, he was in the car again, so he got another Rolex. So good for him.
I've been hearing a lot of criticism about LMP2. Well, I know they got taken off the full-time WEC calendar. They're only for Le Mans now and WEC.
It's LMP2 is way better than LMP3. I don't think there was any need for LMP3. But
LMP3 was a disastrous field filler. But this, I don't know. Something about LMP2 to me is just because it's kind of it's the prototype. It's the Pro-Am for prototypes, which is fine. It's just, I don't know. There's never really interesting storylines to me. I mean, I guess it's kind of like that in GTD, like vanilla GTD, I guess, too. It's just the pros and the manufacturers and the factory teams, they're always going to be more exciting to follow and watch, I guess. And also, again, NBC, there was a lot going on in the LMP2 race. The leader spun out with an hour to go, and then NBC barely mentioned it. So maybe that's why I'm just about LMP2.
Yeah, shout out to AO Racing. I think it's Spike that they ran, right?
Yeah, I love little I love those little guys.
So they were leading pretty late, but then I don't exactly know what happened. There was a lot going on those last couple hours.
Yeah, what happened?
They had Christian Rasmussen, the IndyCar driver, in that car, and they were looking like they might have a shot at winning this thing, but then they weren't up there. Not entirely sure what happened there, but that was unfortunate for them. And then GTD, this is the one I just don't know what happened here. AWA Racing Corvette won.
Yeah, they were kind of running away with it at the end. Well, I guess it was only 1 second. Never mind.
But yeah, GTD,
I don't know really what happened in this race, to be honest. This race, I just don't.
And a lot of that can probably be attributed to NBC.
Yeah.
And let's talk about NBC Sports because I'm giving them a rare flop of the week for them. You know, it's usually the flops go to like Fox. We're talking about TV coverage. This just wasn't it this year for NBC. And I think there's several factors. One, I think it's because they don't have IndyCar this year. They did not talk about IndyCar.
They really didn't, like, at all.
They were really grasping
because he's Lee Diffie.
They were grasping for like any NASCAR reference they could find. And dude, they were fixated on Dale Jarrett. If someone who does not know anything about NASCAR watched this, you probably thought Dale Jarrett was like a 7-time champion. The way they were really hyping up Dale Jarrett. And Dale Jarrett's awesome. Like, he's champion, Daytona 500 winner. Like, he's won the Brickyard 400. He's the one who came up with the kiss on the
bricks. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, he is one of the best NASCAR drivers. Like, he's great.
It's warranted, right? But he's been with NBC since NBC came back into NASCAR. Why are we acting like this is a huge deal? You know,
like, why is he here? Did no one else want to go to the Rolex?
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Jeff Burton's done his role. Steve Letart's done his role.
Were they all taking turns?
And the thing that I wasn't mad about this. It was just kind of goofy. They were hyping up the fireworks show. And last year it was a meme with Jeff Burton when Burton did it, right? And he almost pressed the wrong button.
Yeah.
It's funny. But NBC was going way too hard on it, man. And they were like, Dale, make sure you hit the right button. And then they had the camera down there for Dale to press it.
It's not funny the second time.
Like,
you can't just do
you're forcing it. You're forcing it. Yeah. It's not Dale Jarrett's fault. So I'm not going to give him flop of the week. I think that'd be not fair. But come on. What do you have to say about NBC, Zach?
So here's the thing. As I said earlier, over the winter, I've gotten really into sports car racing to the point where I'm no longer, I don't think I'm a casual fan anymore. Because before I was a casual IMSA fan, right? I only watched the endurance races, really, right? The big races. And that's, that's fine. That's legit. I think that's valid personally, because watching NASCAR and IndyCar when I watch Formula One, that's a lot of motorsports to watch for me. And also to have a life, like, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I want to watch IMSA more. And I've been doing sports car racing on iRacing, as I said. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot about the cars. What makes up the different classes, what, I don't have like an example, but like I was looking into like what these new torque sensors are doing to the GT cars. Like, I just found it really interesting. Anyways, my point is, I feel like this year I have ascended rather past that casual fan that NBC is making this broadcast for. Because I think that's what's happening here. NBC is making a broadcast for those NASCAR fans where this is the only time they watch IMSA. Is that fair? Well, when you're putting this on big NBC, I mean, kind of. You want to? Do you want to appeal to a broader audience? Yeah. Because listen, this is probably the hardest racing discipline to broadcast. Because it's really long. It's really long. So keeping up and trying to follow all the different things that are happening. There's 4 races going on at once as well, right? So it is just easier, if you're going to have this time slot on big NBC for the ending, yes, you're going to simplify some things. And yes, you're going to appeal to NASCAR fans who are definitely watching this. And is that valid? To be honest, yes. Like, as much as I have complaints and frustrations, because I am frustrated because I want to know more about these cars. I want to know more about these cars. I want to know more about this driver. Why is this guy a big deal? Why is this guy leading? Why is he so fast? Like, who is this guy, right?
Yeah.
I want to know more about the teams in GTD, like those like teams with these AM drivers. I want to know more. I want to know more about everything. There's so much to unpack in a sports car race. 200 drivers, right? I want to know more. Just NBC wasn't giving me that. So I was just left frustrated. But upon reflecting on it last night, I'm like, I can't really blame them.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I'm still frustrated, and there's still parts of it. I'm like, again, why are we talking about Dale Jarrett right now?
Right.
Dale Jarrett doesn't like, this is not a NASCAR race.
I think something that NBC is also struggling to do is, like you said, it's hard to do a 24-hour race. So they have to give the people in the booth like a break, right? And if they're not going to go to commercial, they're going to go down to the Peacock pit box and be like, "Hey, we got Dale Jarrett here," and they're going to talk to some driver.
And that's fine.
I think that's fine.
I love the interviews. Honestly, I do.
Yeah.
I do love that. Those are fun.
And I think there is a point though where you're saying like you and I are casual, but we're becoming more and more interested in IMSA, and we want to learn more. So when we're being fed information that is not that, and we already know enough about NASCAR and IndyCar, just like, well, we're here for IMSA. We're not just here.
I'm watching an IMSA race.
And friends. You know,
yes.
We're here.
It's
for
not. This is not. Yeah, this is not. It's kind of like NASCAR. This is kind of like NASCAR. They're at Daytona. Yeah. There's a Mustang. No, girl. Like, there's all these little I can't say that word. There's all these little things about sports car.
I know what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say it either. Yeah.
Why the hell do I do a podcast when I can't even speak words? I don't know I don't know how the hell I got into this gig. Anyways, there's all these little things with sports car racing, and I feel pressure to, especially since we're on here talking about IMSA. I want to know more about what I'm talking about, and I will say, I'll be the first one to say I'm not an expert on sports car racing. I still have a lot to learn, and I'm just frustrated because I feel like that broadcast wasn't doing a lot for me. And there are people being like, if you're watching this on Peacock, you're doing it wrong. Girl,
well,
I'm not setting up a VPN. I'm not setting up a VPN.
People were like, well, you should set up a VPN. It's like, that's too much of a hassle for a one-time thing.
You gonna pay for it?
Right. It's like, I'm paying for Peacock. IndyCar's gone from Peacock now. I'm paying for Peacock to watch IMSA and Supercross. That's it. And I'm going to use Peacock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of frustrating but I also heard like some people, and to be fair, we did get if you watched after midnight, we got the international commentators. We had them, and they were still just kind of hanging out, shooting the shot and just talking about whatever, which is, I kind of love that, actually, like especially in the night hours. They're just passing time, low key. But I've seen on Reddit like some people complain that like especially during Le Mans, like, oh, they're not talking about LMP2 enough, and they're not talking about this and blah blah blah. And my thing is, I remember I said in our bonus episode that like I'm just excited about IMSA. It's a breath of fresh air. And then here I am with these complaints about the broadcast, and I'm about to complain about the caution flags, and it's just like, maybe no sport is perfect. Maybe we just need to enjoy what we have, instead of thinking about what could be better, or do both. Just balance it out.
Yeah, and we can be critical of things we enjoy and want things to be better. That doesn't mean we're just being negative. I saw that kind of notion on social media. It's just like, well, people can be annoyed by different things and point it out. And like you said, the commercials and the cautions. The commercials, let's stick with commercials right now with NBC.
While we're still talking about NBC, because the commercials those are kind of unacceptable. 13 minutes to go, and there's 2 battles for the lead going on.
Back to back. They were back for like maybe a minute, and they went right back to commercial. Like, that's unacceptable. NBC because needs to have a better flow there.
Like, sure, you had split screen, but there's 2 battles for the lead going on, and you can only show one when you're split screen.
And mind you, if you're only watching Peacock, you do not get the side by side. And I think that is...
get that.
It's crazy they haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Why is that so hard for them? It's ridiculous.
I don't understand that. But that was the most annoying part, is that whenever it's on big NBC, they take these so many, and I understand you have to pay the bills, but I mean, have some sort of better timing. You can't do
You
add
want people to
30
watch
seconds or a
racing?
minute back. It's like no one's gonna stay and watch, you know?
Here's the thing about, and we're gonna be talking about this in 2 weeks with the Daytona 500.
Oh yeah.
When you watch football, do you miss a big important play because of commercial?
No.
No. I understand racing's a different sport. Look at Formula One in the United States. Commercial-free races. It is possible. Now,
The advertisers might have to pay up a lot more, but like even if you did like segments of a race, like 30 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's very easy for me to say
the entire time.
Yeah, it's very easy for me to say and expect that like one day we can get there with NASCAR and IMSA. Well, obviously they have long races, so it's harder for them to do that. But still, like,
yeah,
having a bunch of the frequency of the commercials in that last hour was ridiculous, and you cannot do that.
Yeah,
you just can't. I'm sorry.
And then the frequency of how many cautions, Zach, you wanted to talk about that too.
Oh yeah, because like it felt like an NASCAR race. All these, well, it's weird because cautions kind of go against the whole idea of endurance racing. Like you're just resetting the field like over and over. It feels like not necessarily true. Like still only 4 GTPs finished in the lead lap. Might have actually been 3. I don't know. So that is what it is. But my thing is with IMSA is it's a few things. One, the cautions take too long. They still haven't been able to figure that out. Saw someone say, well, they got to sort 60 cars. It can't possibly take that long.
Well, let me point this out. When a caution came out at like midnight, 1 a.m., I'm like, okay, I'm going to bed. Because they're going to take like 30, 40 minutes to get going again. That's not good. Even if it was late at night, a caution coming out shouldn't be an indicator for me like, okay, I'm going to tune out now. Like, that's
exactly. Because that was a thing with NASCAR a few years ago. Like when a caution come, I'm like, I don't care about this race anymore because y'all ain't racing.
It kills the flow, and you're going to have cautions.
And it does kill the
problem.
Flow.
The problem with IMSA though is the cautions take half an hour sometimes, and like that big crash that happened. You and I were talking about this at that point. There was a caution right before that, and then they crashed right away.
Field up.
Yeah,
it's cautions breed cautions. That was a terrible wreck. That was a huge wreck. Like we tore up all those cars in the 24-hour race because we had a full course yellow for. What did it even come out for? We had so many full course yellows for stopped cars. Yeah. Like, what?
Local yellows? I feel like that's a thing they could do.
A virtual safety car. Le Mans has some kind of virtual safety car. I think it's called Code 60, which I'm assuming all the cars go to 60 miles per hour. I don't know. Like, I would like IMSA to look into that, but they're owned by NASCAR. Like, there is charm to the restarts. It does keep it close. I get it. Is it exciting? Yeah. We get those battles without full course yellows and restarts? I don't know. Probably not. So it's a balancing act. And has the Rolex 24 Daytona always been like this? Technically, yes. They've always had full course from since I've been watching. This is always how it's been. So, I mean, I don't know. And does the entire 24 hours still matter? Of course. You got to keep your car on track. As we talked about, Penske controlled the race. They had the track position. And ultimately, I think that's what let the 7 get the win. So it's, racing and track position and pit strategy, they all still matter. It's just, I don't know, for an endurance race, I just feel like the amount of yellows and the restarts are just kind of, I feel like it goes against the spirit. I would love to hear other people's take on that. Because before, yellows didn't really bother me. But now, lately, I think the more and more I've watched these endurance races, the more I'm like, dude, for IMSA specifically, I'm just like, girl, these yellows are kind of dumb. Like, I'm here to watch a long race. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to keep seeing it get reset.
Right.
Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Do we have any other thoughts on the Rolex 24?
I don't
Great
think
race.
so. It was a pretty good race. I had fun. I
enjoyed myself.
And again, like, I had so much fun watching that race. I wish I watched more of it, to be honest. Which I don't know how, because I watched I slept, and then there was 2 hours I went to play iRacing, like on the Saturday night. But like I had
watched
it
the
on.
first 12 for sure, and then I watched the last 4. So
Yeah,
I watched like 16 hours ish. I did the full 24 2 years ago, and I don't know if I want to do that again just because the last 2 hours I was like nearly asleep.
We're adults. Yeah, and then you can't really enjoy the end of the race because you're too tired.
So I wasn't as hype as I could have been. Yeah,
it's fun. It's like that's fun, but how long were we up for Indy? Were we up for like?
Oh, we got up for
hours?
the Indy 500
at like 3 a.m. Right?
2 or 3 a.m. and then we didn't get back to our hotel.
So like
pretty sure it was midnight.
The 21 hours of Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if we're done with Rolex, let's talk about the NASCAR Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium because it's time for fantasy.
Do we have to?
I mean,
oh wait, I'm the defending champion. Of course we do. Sorry, I'm working on getting the thing up. And what's crazy? I have not thought about who I'm going to pick.
Really?
I literally don't know.
I know what
I guess I should figure that one out. That Bowman Gray.
So yeah, Bowman Gray Stadium, similar to the LA Coliseum, except it's in the middle of nowhere.
They're gonna be hitting the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
So
new for 2025.
Oh yeah.
We're not gonna make picks at the same time. That got a little messy. It was funny though to like pick the same driver over and over, but it just kind of took too much time.
And it was too much like mind gaming. I feel like too. Like, girl,
we weren't picking the drivers we actually would pick. We were like, I'm gonna take this guy from you.
Yeah, you know? it was getting we were. It evolved. Like it was kind of like it evolved. It evolved to the point where it wasn't fun. Almost. Like it was still fun, obviously, but
it was still fun. It was funny.
It evolved past the spirit of the game. Like I feel like that happened in racing one time. Like when like something happens in racing and they change the rule, like it was kind of like that.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like.
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pick first because I did not win last year. But Zach, we made an agreement for who wins the clash involving the Daytona 500. Do you wanna share that?
Oh, so whoever wins the clash, no points, but they will get to pick first for the Daytona 500, which definitely will be a huge advantage.
Yes,
because only a few drivers can win the Daytona 500.
Oh yeah, at least like 40 or 41, potentially 41.
Jesus Christ! And if you're wondering, if we're not talking about all that off-season tea today, that's most likely going to be next week. And oh my god, we all have to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
Oh my god.
All right, so I have a pick ready to go. So I'm going to put it in. Are you ready?
I guess we don't even need this graphic anymore, but let's go ahead and do it.
I think it's good for our video people.
Good for our video people. Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Sure. Why you gotta wait on me? Just do it.
Just making sure you're ready.
It's not like we're not doing it like how we used to do.
I got Joe Log, the reigning champion.
Well, Penske's gonna go back to back. They just won the Rolex, and now they're going to win the Bowman Gray Clash. That's Alex.
Joey Logano always wins races on their first time. I know it's not technically the first time, but first time in a very long time. Blah 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 blah. Joey Logano, and it's a short track. Penske's good on short tracks.
They are good on short tracks.
Mr. Zack, what do you got?
That is a really good pick. I guess I better think of somebody.
You can tell he's putting his heart and soul into this.
The
reigning champion, you guys, does not care.
I have an idea. Wait, okay, I have a pick. All right. This is an awful pick. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pick Ryan Blaney.
Ooh, Penske.
Yeah.
Oh, so all that stuff you said I was saying, you're saying too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I thought, because I was like looking back at the LA Clash, and I'm like, well, Penske's won it, and then Gibbs have won it the past 2 years. I don't know, girl.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be a race. I feel like Bowman Gray is going to be a race where no one cares. But I don't know if that means no one's going to care to actually like wreck somebody, or if no one's going to care and they're going to wreck everybody. I just feel like Blaney's going to do good in those situations, either of those situations.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Admittedly, I don't really care about this race. I'll
How
watch.
can you? I was actually talking with my coworker about this today because he asked me when NASCAR starts. And I was like, well, the 500's the week after the Super Bowl, but they have this preseason race called the Clash and blah, blah, blah. And I was talking to him like, it used to be at Daytona. And I don't know, because I feel like the Clash has to be used as buildup to the Daytona 500. Or
It's just a thing.
Being 2 weeks before the 500, not at Daytona, not really connected to anything. It's just, it doesn't work. I just don't think this works.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the race will be really good. Maybe it'll be entertaining, but like, I just have reservations about that from what we've seen at LA, because I just feel like the drivers, sometimes they just don't care. It's a non-points race. Like,
if you've been following the NFL playoffs and if you've been watching Fox games, you'll notice they are not advertising the Clash at all. Last year they did.
Think about that.
Last year, the last 2 years they did, because it was in LA and Fox really pushed for that. They have not mentioned it at all. They're advertising the Daytona 500, but they have not mentioned the Clash.
And that's, again, the Clash should be at Daytona because it should be one of those lead up events to the Daytona 500. It should be how it used to be. Whether, I don't know, maybe people don't want to see that kind of racing. I don't know. Which, to be fair, I kind of don't either. But then I feel like we're obligated to have the Clash. We're just obligated to have the Clash. You know, yeah. Because really, you know what else? You know what actually is a good kickoff to the racing season that is a bit segmented from the Daytona 500? The Rolex. Yeah, it's 3 weeks before the 500, but hey, we're here starting the podcast back up. We're pretty hyped for the racing season. I don't think Bowman and Gray is going to do the same thing for us, but maybe we'll be here next week and maybe we'll be wrong. We will eat crow. We will eat crow if we like the Bowman Gray clash. I almost said crash. The crash.
That's probably what it's actually going to be, is the Bowman Gray.
It's either going to be constant crashing or just really boring. There's going to be no in between.
Yeah, no in between.
So I don't know.
We'll see. We'll be watching. We'll talk about that next week here on the I don't even know what the format is.
Did you see that graphic with all the things explaining the format? I didn't even read it. I'm not. That
graphic designer, I felt bad for them because they were just like, "You want me to put all this in an Instagram size photo?"
Well, I feel like they over-explained it. Like there was stuff they didn't need to put in there, like qualifying and stuff. Or I don't know, there was something in there that they I looked at it, I'm like, you didn't need to put this in there. That's just how NASCAR
Before we go, I want to thank Avery Hage, our good friend, one of our Patreon subs as well. Really helped me out with the Rolex section. I kept messaging him like, "Hey, is this right?" You know, it's probably some things I missed still. But I'm learning IMSA. Thank you to Avery.
He's a very smart person with sports car racing. And again, it's a hard sport to follow, I feel like. Yeah. Maybe it's just because I'm uneducated.
We'd like to have him on the pod again this year. We've had him on before. We didn't have him on last year. Maybe talk about IMSA race. Yeah.
And I want to say, like, I get in 2019 when I started following IndyCar, like, seriously, I had a lot of excitement for it, and I have that same excitement for sports car racing right now. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. This is cool.
All right. Well, let's wrap up here. We have a kind comment from our last episode of last season. This is from Dylan McCollum. It was really fun listening through the season with you guys. You both do a great job talking about the motorsports we try to love and making sure anybody is welcome to join in. I think I'm more excited for your first episode. That's right now. You're watching that one right now, Dylan. And then the actual start of the racing season. Wow. Big day then. Merry off-season. That has concluded. Yep.
The Daytona 500 sucks, so I can see why he's actually more excited for... We're actually... You actually don't know what's going to happen on this show. You don't know what the hell I'm going to say. Daytona 500, I know exactly how that's going to play out. I'm not trying to be a hater.
Yeah. They're going to have a good 199 laps.
Fuel save, racing, wreck, overtime, ends under yellow. Mike Joy is asleep. There you go.
Yep.
Someone
thank you to our Patreon subscribers again. If you want to give your hot takes or whatever regarding the NASCAR Clash, you can send those over on Patreon. I'll make a post after we finish recording here. Patreon.com/gayracingpod. You can rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll read any written Apple podcasts that are 5 stars. You can like and subscribe on YouTube. Again, our socials, primarily on Blue Sky and TikTok.
Girl,
But we're also
get
on
on Blue
Instagram.
Sky. If you message me on
Blue
X,
Sky.
I'm not going to look at it.
Please get on Blue Sky, man. I know it's missing some features. They don't have private accounts and that you can't send photos and messages, but they're working on it.
Why the hell would you need a private account for?
Then you can't message us. You can't interact with us if you're a private account. But I don't know. But yeah, get on Blue Sky, please. At Gay Racing Pod, at Dreamy Zack Racing, and at New Gaiden. We're also on TikTok at Gay Racing Pod until they ban it again.
Yeah. You know what I just realized?
That's it.
The Clash is on Sunday night at 8. Yo, we got work the next day. What the hell?
I work at 8 a.m.
What the hell are we doing, NASCAR? What about the working class people that have work the next day?
Remember when the Clash was on a Saturday night and then qualifying was the next day?
Oh my God. Remember they had actual Oh, that's another thing about the Rolex I didn't mention. Like, why does IMSA have a better Speedweeks than NASCAR?
Low key.
They had the Roar before the 24.
The Mazda Cup.
They had the Sports Car
Challenge.
They had the Sports Car Challenge race with the LMP3s and the GT4s the weekend before, right? And then plenty of track time. And then, man, I had such nice, like, I don't know, Busch Series vibes from watching the Michelin Pilot Challenge.
I watched that whole thing. Yeah.
The Michelin Pilot Challenge was a really good race. Number one, it was just so much fun. It was a great race. Just good vibes. I don't know. Like, the Mazda races kind of sucked from what I saw. Well, I couldn't watch the second one because I was at work. But
yeah, I didn't watch the second one.
What a great week of racing.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah. I just wish NASCAR. To be fair, there is like short track stuff going on the week of the Daytona 500 that follow Matt Weaver.
Follow Matt Weaver if you want all that.
Because that's kind of replaced what used to be Speed Weeks, I feel like. But again, it's not the same. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to our season opener for 2025. We hope this is going to be a big year. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up for you. Some cool guests that we want to get on the podcast. And definitely some bonus videos I need to get made. I need to take y'all on an office tour. Hoping I do that soon.
That'd be fun.
Once I'm done upgrading it, which don't know when that's going to be. Once I run out of money, I guess.
See y'all next year.
See y'all next year. All right. We'll see y'all next week to talk about the Bowman Gray crash at the not the Coliseum, at the Bowman Gray crash. No, we'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.